happens along this way, and then he turns on the next one. But he won't find another place to get out of this endless circle. He found another street. He wasn't working on this one. All the perfect and birds are everywhere. I can't get out of this mess. First he went left, then right again. And now I'm getting dizzy. Birds are never where he started. The chain came behind him. Birds are fonder of left chain. If you're fonder of these things, you'll turn a big round circle. There's just enough gunpowder to draw the strings for. TV sure is matter. You're not to stop at same time. But it's not done on the a chain and pad went to spur. Not all this was a hunt. At last, they found what was making it trouble. The mist trouble. Look at that. That's what's making the trouble. It's a business one. No, it is it's not. Now, in your talk, what's going on now? Here comes trouble. A policeman. Excuse us, sir. But Amy, can't you consider putting the stains leg? Have one, not it's harder, but you'll have to talk it. But it's not a good age this step. A change to get her, and we want the change part of it, that's all. Burn this her. Yes, it couldn't be a cop, it's not how the slippers the best. Her, it popped the stains in front and behind a small her. The chain and thread went on the way and protected his first. And up at instant working speed, but yes, the job hadn't spent some piston off ink on some and and all. He had written in our paper in the visit of the place, but just having come on, it's her. You're coming, Duncan? Oh, yes. And the tree, putting some tar in this. It's done. Careful, it's that can't keeping it. A thick clean or cane, not some chopper getting past it. Your can't cost not to, is toss it. Lincoln it across, either some long walk, timber northward, then the Northern cross it. I know you can get home, some windy. The bitter gets on the spit, it got some chocolate, someone. You better put up a scene up first. Hmm? Dean said, Nick, tar. Yours this first mid-speech, and is of the chocolate, and let's burn off the sticks of her. Oh, next Mr. was eating a paper. It's a physicist's birthday, and it was to be Master and her eating. So he decided to get a partner, and he went to get his taxi and to get some partner what he needed for the pizza. It was not a good card. He got the partner, he pasted on this and he pasted on his face. Okay, this picture on the end of this bag and me. He took his taste back and gave us to her. But it didn't transfer up to something. And he didn't tell his friends. It was not a turn to tell them that his friends with the small chains and stuff that this wasn't around. It's the small chains that's and those small chains ever earned, it's not been caught. talks on the kid. He's got this kid horror and this scene of Cantor eating some connection, some Oliver First kid and Peter Thurman. And the vampire book, the form of the things. Not sure it's just specific concepts is so con. It long for that it's oh, this is never want to see this one. The saga of Knockin' the Knock, number 2. He is speaking. Look what you found. There's crossed square. Upper one's downstairs. In the lands of the north, with the Pickroxton god against the spirit, in the dark night, it is long. The men of the Northlands sit in the kidnapped face, and it is some creature of the king who left his castle and his peaceful land to travel for the dark lands and dark woods of Childescur to meet the dragon in the hot water villa round the Grass Mountains. Knockin' the Knock was the name of the king. Remember what he said? Young Nick Merp and Ages in the 50s and 60s. What's next? August. With a strong tone. His head speed. Knockin' the Knock was the name of the king. Young and with a strong, and his queen was Knocker, the third daughter of Ned of the Knocks. Together they roamed the town, the villas in the mountains, the caves in the forests, which are called the land of Knocks. A friend and counsel law was Christmas, a great king bird, for it did knockin' to knockers her, the land of the midnight sun. Now then, one Tuesday morning, as this earth melted, as if spring was coming. Today, unexpected as for all, but not coming over all except as in the Grass Mountains. They never met, and there isn't some strange reason they hate melt, because it always melt. Kitchener was fleeing above the castle and town. He wasn't curving anywhere, just walking with a small exercise need, having some small about. Wasn't fleeing far. It's the reason he wasn't curving anywhere. He saw in the distance a hawk turn and drop naked wings turn into a head cliff in the mountains. He pictured a rabbit or hare that the hawk had chosen of its prey. Then Kitchener and a squawk and a grunt and a sound. The hawk was shot out again, sitting, chopped feathers behind it. This is a rabbit, thought Kitchener as he clattered down into the place. A sword struck sparks of rock before him. Out of me, lost cricket rabbit, the sword burst again. Kitchener swerved in the air and caught some glimpse of a tailor and with a father's battered face behind the sword. Out of me, you clean-faced chicken, I'll have you for mincemeat. Kitchener kicked the ledge of a rock and perched out of heat, and he spurred for the men and saw them stood there. Look, hey, take it, he said. What's there on waving that carving leaf? No, for goodness sake, if your turd stop waving that carving leaf, you shall drop a rock on you. Now, put it down. The little man heard the sword. Are you not? Can't eat me? He asked. Indeed, not, said Kitchener, or was particular about what he heard. The man sat down and mopped his brow. It's not a leaf then. Young hawk, no, hit me on the hill there. Kitchener seen that the sun was near the side came closer. Where are you from, little man? He asked, with a keen head. I'm from the hot water village beyond the Grass Mountains, and I'm not a little man. I'm the biggest and the strongest in the village. From the hot water village, all said Kitchener, starting to look over, interested in where it came from. I've heard that some people live there, but it is so little. Well, I'm one of them. We're the strong people, tall as the summer grass. Now, if you're not to call us little. The man's hand was on his heart, and Kitchener spoke to me. He didn't make weapons such as this one. He thought them were dangerous and not safe. Not to mention that not make them much as toys. I beg your pardon, he said. My name is Ridiculous. I am the royal bird, the land of the Nox. My name is Rump, and it is to knock and the knock. It comes a message from my people. Greetings, it's from men, and welcome to the land of Nog. The little man first of his feet. First put his face close to Crixus's beak. Greetings, he said. Greetings, bad, he said. And if not called me literal once more, I'll speak of with me broadsword. Crixus said he would bear it in mind, and after some with a small discussion, Rolf allowed himself to be herded down the river to Noggin's castle because he was an ambassador. Noggin had to receive him from in the throne room. The trumpets sounded, and little men walked down the long room between the ranks of Nog riders. Assembled the top of his pointed head came out in the beds. Change, Lord, change, he muttered of himself at the thought of the bird. He stopped and spoke in a loud voice. Young bird was made, amen, it's for men. He said, looking over, disappointed that he was not Baker's men. Greetings, Noggin and Nog. Noggin looked down. Oh, there are greetings, little men. Noggin sat on the steps of the throne, and at the table, and Rump at the table. It was a terrible tale. Rump told how peaceful the farmers, you mean, how the peaceful farmers of the hot water village, the hating in hills and caves, the farmer was taken. It was rampaging up and down the river, trampling the crops and houses, and little men bent his neck and bowed. Prince Noggin, he said, the hot water river is part of the land of Nog, and I have travelled many days for this earth in the great forests to bring all the humble greetings of my people and their prayer that shall deliver them from this monster before they starve. Noggin rose to his feet and understood that his river was in some terrible state of subjection. But what the little people didn't know that the dragon, well, the dragon wasn't really chirping the place. He was chirping and knocking over upset. It's what legends are. He called to the captain of the god, the first Noxon. The Noxon, in the god feeding chickens. The Noxon was the priest of the Christian, and he answered from the is never trade. Well, make it an expedition. We're cropping to the hot water river to feed the chicken. Oh. Knocking and Sir Noxon took a long sledge with 6 strong dogs to pull it. It worked it. It worked it with provisions, circuitous and rum on the top. And as the sun rose, they left the castle and set off up the winding lanes of the hill farms. Then the harvest is shuffled and cleaned. It eats the haze for fiddles, while the wind spurs cleared. The warm spring days seemed far behind them, as the sled skinned over the frozen spur towards the dark forest of Childer's Curve. No, the dark forest of Childer's Curve was the troublesome tracks made because there were no paths in the forest of it, because it had been planted in the days of magic. The plague sorcerer or gave his cheese the power to mow the burnt, and her doctor was watching. The Nox hunted at the edge of the forest. It is the only way, said Rob. Whatever perils there may be, a way leads from the forest. But in that case, I suppose we shall have to go that way, said Noggin. But it would need it on in the spur. We shall get lost. Awfully buffalo, said Cricket. It can flee above the chairs and spur roll away, and spur into the dark sailing forest. David, that is her path, and they know they've been leaving her trail behind them, and they will never find the way back again, because the chairs water moved to hit the chicks often. Noggin felt with a spur they were lost, but each time he looked up, he saw crickets circling in the sky above them, and as the light began to fade, at last the chairs thinned out. The ground crossed deep. Came up out of the forest and saw before them the vast shining walls of the grass mountains. Clenching in the evening sun, a maid carried a fat of plain wood, a boiled eggs at her least first to dip in them, and if the butter was cooked, it comes so far without mishap. All this is safe cricketers. All this knocking over sad and over puzzled. A bird is place, he said. It was never had before, and it ain't perfect weather. Perhaps I seemed it. The killers said knocking seemed it. Perhaps it did. But in her, it is faithfully of that of the rate of the sun is herself a lake of salt water among the tall, clean trees. Cricketers craned his neck as if to spur of the mountain. There were fish in the lake, he added. The last fish got to eat. Knocking for water, Herbert. From your bond, cricketers, he asked. It hurt no, said the bird. A cheated gave made egg to Knocker's mother. She said the papers to touch and raised me from a chick. But where it came from, or in what nest made egg was laid, her button earth. He ended with a curtain cricketers rather than on lost dinner. And it is still late, said Knocking a knock. Come now and feign your spares, your keen, feign the keen spares, but randomly, for it may be your egg remembers what it never saw, and there all things are heard. Without another word, Cricketers lifted himself from the ground and fled away. Spawn, Noggin, and Noxon, Rumph, and 6 dogs slept round the day's fair. In the morning, the Nox made a hat and gave the dogs plenty of food and them to guard the sledge. Then they took their cleaning herbs and followed Rumph up the steep track of the Grass Mountains. It was a hard and with a steep climb to the ledge, where the tunnel led off the mountain wall. It was the only place for Rumph was shouted and pulled at the knocks, but the tunnel was too purple. He could not cross her. Yet they made a big bit of the ledge. You know, it's ridiculous, said the Noxon. He raised their arms, and a clean bird they didn't hurt swooped down and landed beside them. Ark, he said, even with a slobber. What you mean, Ark? Said Noggin with a ended it. not really understanding me. This one doesn't talk very often. He can't get from the tunnel. Ark, said the bird, looking up into the sky. The lake needs a dozen keen birds created done and perched around them. And cricketers and